and engaged citizen. The Freedoms Foundation Medal of Honor Grove originated out of a need for a tangible and meaningful demonstration of these values. Our grove is the oldest and largest tribute to those awarded with our nation's highest military honor. As important, it represents and stands for the individual character shown by these brave men and women. As you spend the rest of the afternoon in the Grove, there are 54 sites that honor recipients. One for each state, one for Puerto Rico, the District of Columbia, one sponsored by the Ancient Order of the Hibernians, who honor those recipients who are not claimed by a state, and there's a chaplain's memorial. This grove was dedicated on October 1st, 1964, and the first states dedicated were California, Mississippi, Nevada, Ohio, on May 30th, 1968. I'd like to mention that the Freedoms Foundation is grateful to have the Friends of the Medal of Honor Grove organization shoulder the responsibility for the maintenance and improving of the Grove. We greatly appreciate your hard work and, more importantly, your friendship. Finally, in April of this year, the Foundation, working with the local township and county, placed a conservation easement on the Medal of Honor Grove acreage. What that means to all of us is that the Grove will be preserved in perpetuity, so future generations will have the opportunity to visit and take in the spiritual nature of this acreage and understand the sacrifice and the character demonstrated by the recipients. We're here today to dedicate the West Virginia obelisk. The original obelisk was dedicated on August 15th, 1981, and our sponsoring organization, Rededication, was involved in that dedication as well. For those of you who don't know, Rededication is a community service organization, and each club helps make their community better through fellowship, goodwill, and community service. And we're honored to say that the Rededicatians have been friends and supporters of Freedoms Foundation for over 40 years. At this time, I'd like to ask Greg Carey, the chairman of the Friends of the Medal of Honor Grove, to step forward and say a few words. Greg?
Good afternoon, ladies, gentlemen, and distinguished guests. I was honored to have the opportunity to say a few words on behalf of the Board of Directors for the Friends of the Medal of Honor Grove. I would ask that the board members in attendance please raise your hand today so the other folks can see the rest of the team. Thank you all. Without these members, volunteers, and corporate partners, we would not have achieved our mission of maintaining the Grove to what you experience today. However, there is much more work to do. We are a nonprofit organization that was established in 2011. Our mission is to raise money so we can maintain the Grove in honor of the Medal of Honor recipients. And when you hear Medal of Honor recipients speak, they will all tell you they wear the medal for all that have served for this great nation. Rather than speak about all the work that has been accomplished since 2011, I thought I would read you a poem. Yesterday I received a letter from a Freedom Foundation member from the Cincinnati chapter. He had attended a conference here in 2005 and 2006. He was here with his wife, and they came out here into the Grove and volunteered several days of their time here. And after he returned, he wrote this poem. And again, I happened to receive it just by chance in the mail yesterday. It's called Echoes from an Honored Grove by Dr. Theodore W. Calsbeek. And I did call up the doctor yesterday and spoke to him about his poem and asked his permission. And he is a 91-year-old young gentleman that sounded like he was half his age, much like Woody. Here it goes. In a grove of nature's stalwart sentries, keeping watch both day and night, every state has its solemn entries of soldiers who bravely dare to fight. On obelisk and nameplates scattered on 52 sites are the names and ranks and dates of heroes who fought valiantly for the right. Medal of Honor were greatly awarded by a grateful nation whose freedom they guarded. Today, we also salute the living and the dead, the heroes who gave their all in our nation's stead. No longer do they hear the bugle calls to duty. neither morning reveille nor solemn evening taps. But with their name remembered in nature's beauty, they are spared the sounds of warfare past. But we rushed, and hallowed silence still seemed to hear their strong and mystic voices reverberating loud and clear. Throughout the hallowed woodland, their haunting voices ring, a solemn charge to us, continue, honor to them bring. Through their grove we have strolled with bated breath, remembering all who met the rendezvous with death. We have paused to look at the nameplates bearing every name and have sadly noted where and when they earned their fame. Now, as we leave the grove by its rustic winding road and return to our own thoroughfares of strife, we carry memories of having solemnly strode in the midst of heroes who still affect our life. The paths of duty and honor they once nobly trod in loyal and faithful service to their nation under God. And in their sacred memory, we are called to serve with grateful minds and heart and patriotism unreserved. As we return to our chapters across the land and in our personal lives as well, let us take our stand with love for country and with hope restored in memory of our heroes and reliance of the Lord. That was a very powerful poem that I believe and that he had written for his beloved wife, also in honor of the grove. He sent this letter because he wanted to thank the Friends of the Medal of Honor Grove, because what he had made was a donation to the wreaths across the grove, and for a wreath that would be placed in honor of his wife. There's no doubt about it that if it were not for Deb Wolfson and Elaine Matt, he wouldn't have received the pictures he wrote in his letter that he had received that urged him to write this letter to me. So with that, thank you, and that is the impact that this grove has on everybody.
And thank all the Friends of the Medal of Honor Grove for all you do, and again, for your friendship. At this time, I'd like to ask Clinton Guy Cox, Brewerton National President-elect, and John Heenan, Freedom's Foundation Board member, to come forward to present and receive beautiful obelisk.
Family, friends, and honored guests. We meet here today at the Freedom's Foundation at Valley Forge in the Medal of Honor Grove to rededicate the West Virginia obelisk. After 2 years of hard work and contributions of several community service organizations and individuals throughout West Virginia, we are able to present this beautiful replacement obelisk back to the Medal of Honor Grove. We would like to personally thank past National Brewerton President Jerome Rhodes for all of the work and dedication he gave in arranging financial contributions and getting the obelisk erected and prepared for today's rededication. This obelisk was erected to pay homage for those individuals that gave above and beyond their call of duty. These individuals exhibited an extraordinary act of valor in combat. The Medal of Honor is the United States' highest and most prestigious award for gallantry and sacrifice in the line of fire, and it is granted only to American soldiers. If the soldier, sailor, or Marine gains approval, the President awards the medal personally. All of these individuals honored here gave more than was expected of them by their fellow soldiers. This is our way of saying, in some small way, thank you for what you have given. We are very fortunate to have Mr. Herschel Woodrow Woody Williams as one of those special recipients with us. Woody is one of the few D-Day veterans who is still active and with us today. My father-in-law is 93, and he went ashore on the second day of the D-Day invasion. As with most veterans, he never could talk about what he saw on that day. As I am sure all of you know, the Medal of Honor Grove consists of 52 wooded acres that have been divided equally among each of the 50 states of Puerto Rico, District of Columbia, and 2 others. This grove, according to 2014 figures, is a permanent memorial to the more than 3,492 men and women who have received the Medal of Honor since the Civil War. The grove serves as a beautiful place of remembrance for the brave souls who risked and sometimes sacrificed everything. Each obelisk is patterned after the Washington Monument and has the state seal, dedication plaque, and a list of Medal of Honor recipients from that state. There is a medal marker with the name, rank, unit, date, and place of action for each Medal of Honor recipient planted in the ground and placed on the acre. A tree was to be planted for each medal recipient. We pray that the West Virginia obelisk that we are rededicating today will continue to stand tall for many years in honor of all West Virginians who have served above and beyond the call of duty, so they may always be remembered for what they gave, and some continue to give to their fellow man. Our national convention will be held in Charleston, South Carolina this January, and outside of the Medal of Honor Museum, which is located on the USS Yorktown in Mount Pleasant, South Carolina, is the only other memorial to all the Medal of Honor recipients in the nation. So at this time, I would like to rededicate this monument to the Medal of Honor Grove.
Thank you very, very much, President-elect Ty, for this wonderful honor. I have to say, when Deb called me, I misunderstood. I must have had a bad phone connection because I thought she asked me to come up and accept a check. So I came, I brought my wife. We were going to go to the mall afterwards after I got that check cashed. And instead I was brought to this beautiful obelisk and invited to accept it on behalf of the Freedom Foundation and the Medal of Honor Grove. And of course I had no choice but to accept it, and I'm very, very happy and pleased and honored to do that. Thank you again very, very much. And since I have the microphone, I'm going to take a second and introduce a little bit our guest speaker, Woody Williams. We've known Woody for a couple of years in a couple of different ways.
Thank you all for being here. You know, this would be a pretty dull gathering if we here were the only people here. So thank you for coming. I like to speak to people, not trees. So, it is a pleasure, absolutely. And I want to present a fellow Marine who happened to be one of those guys that also survived Iwo Jima. Carl, would you please stand and take a round of applause for your service on Iwo Jima? Of course, it was with the other divisions, and we don't give them much credit for everything. Thank you, sir. Thank you for being here. He was there 2 years. He went back 2 years ago. Now he says he's not going to go back anymore. Also, please be seated if you're standing, and then you have a seat. West Virginians. How many West Virginians do we have in this group? Hey, we got a whole slew of them here. Well, would all West Virginians please stand up? Wow, thank you very much. Thank you for being here. And particularly Larry, you did all the work and started this thing, and we certainly are appreciative of what he did. We now have, or will have, on July the 31st, our President will present his first Medal of Honor. And it will make then 3,600 recipients of the Medal of Honor in the history of America. If you have an opportunity to attend the ceremony in Washington on that date, we would invite you to take part. There will be a limited seating arrangement in the building, a room in which they're doing this, but maybe you can sneak in. Craig, would you please come forward for a moment? You? Yeah, you're looking right at me. I'd like to make a donation to the West Virginia obelisk on behalf of my family. And we've never done this, and I'm sorry we haven't. But my small contribution maybe will lay a brick. You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, he gets to go to the bar. I did see the old obelisk from West Virginia a few years ago, and it was badly deteriorated. So it's a thrill to be here and be able to take part in rededicating, if I can use that term, at least reestablishing a permanent obelisk. And thank everybody who had an opportunity and a part in this presentation, in this monument. West Virginia takes a lot of kiddie. There's most places that I go, particularly west of the Mississippi, people will say, "Where are you from?" And I'll say, "West Virginia." And they'll say, "How close are you to Roanoke?" Or do you live near Richmond? Oh, that gets to you. But those individuals who will see this obelisk will have no doubt that West Virginia exists and is a state. And on a Veterans Memorial on our Capitol grounds, we have a memorial that pays tribute to 11,000 West Virginians who gave their lives at the hands of an enemy in the history of our country and our state. As we travel around over the country, we talk a little different than others. We're not too prone to say y'all. And if there's more than one, say all y'all. But we do, in the northern part of West Virginia, have a little different language than we do in the southern part of West Virginia. In the northern part, they say you'uns, and that means y'all. And in the western, or in the southern part of the state, we say out yonder, and that means over there. And we say, well, fetch it to me. That means bring it here. So we do talk a little differently. Recently, I heard where a West Virginian went deer hunting. We have a lot of deer in West Virginia. I don't know, 150,000 of them killed last year during the deer season. We have a lot of them. They're kind of hard on automobiles. They don't like cars. But these guys were hunting deer, and two of them paired off and went hunting. And that evening, one of them came in alone. And he was carrying an 8-pound buck, of which he was very proud. An 8-pound, I mean an 8-point, not pound, 8-point, and of which he was very proud. And when he came into camp, one of them said, well, where's Henry? Oh, he had a stroke of some kind out there. He's a couple of miles back up the trail. said, "You left Henry out there by himself?" He says, "Well, yeah, I did, because I didn't figure anybody'd steal Henry." But in spite of what others may say, our citizens, we claim, and if you've ever heard our governors, they all use this, that per capita, we've had more people serve in the armed forces than any other state. Now, other states have refuted that, but we still stick to it. And until Google proves us wrong, we're going to stick to it. We have a lot to be proud of in our state. You celebrate Mother's Day because of Anna Marie Jarvis. Anna Marie Jarvis was a daughter, and she thought her mother should be honored. So she petitioned the Congress, and through the legislation or legislators, she was able to get Mother's Day passed into law. So every year we celebrate Mother's Day because of Anna Marie Jarvis. In my hometown of Fairmont, West Virginia, I was born about 7 miles in the country, but that was the only place we could go. So we'd go to town, and that we considered our hometown. That city is the first place where Father's Day was celebrated. Now, they didn't pass a law for that one, I guess, but according to history, that's where Father's Day started. And we have a record of burning down 3 capitals. Nobody else has that record. We're pretty good. One of our governors was the youngest and the oldest governor to ever serve. He started as the first governor, his first period of 33 or 35 years old. And then he came back when he was 75 and was reelected. So we have that record of having the youngest and the oldest governor. West Virginia was the first state in the Union to honor the relatives, the loved ones of those who gave their lives in the armed forces of our country since we became a nation. We did it primarily, and I have to say selfishly, for the 11,000 that I mentioned. But when that got on the internet, and sometimes I could shoot my computer, and other times it's a blessing. When it got on the internet, other communities around the country realized we have those folk living among us. They gave a loved one, but we have never done anything for them to honor them and to pay tribute to them for their sacrifice. So we in West Virginia did the first one, and the one on these grounds over yonder is the second one in the United States. So this place established another historical moment. According to the records that I've been able to obtain from our record-keeping people, we have had 63 members of the armed forces who went above and beyond the call of duty and earned our nation's highest award. Many of those were credited to some other state. The reason being that was the home of record when the person entered the armed forces, but they were born in the state of West Virginia. When I arrived home in 1945, there were 4 of we Medal of Honor recipients. I was the only Marine. But we had Lawrence Sennett, who was born in a place called Burnt House, West Virginia, but credited to Pennsylvania. And Stanley Bender, who was born in Carlisle, West Virginia, but credited to Chicago because that's where he was when he was drafted. Henry Nickerson was born in Edgewood, West Virginia, but he was credited to West Virginia. And I was, since I was born in a little community called Quiet Dell, West Virginia. During the Civil War, there were 8 recipients of the Medal of Honor and then 4 more in the Indian campaigns. But the unusual part of these awards was a 15-year-old boy. Very difficult for us to imagine 15-year-old boys involved in the war. But a 15-year-old boy named William Horsfall, Horsfall, he actually was a Kentuckian. But he received the Medal of Honor for risking his life to save a wounded officer who was lying between the North and the South lines. And he rescued him. He was the youngest Kentuckian to ever receive the Medal of Honor. James McLaughlin will have his life changed on July the 31st. And he, like most of us, and probably every one of us, we say, we are not heroes. He said, I'm not a hero. I just did my job. There's a bunch of heroes. You know, any veteran will tell you the real heroes are not here with us. But by the grace of God, America has survived 242 years. And much of that survival we must credit to the armed forces of the United States. Abraham Lincoln said when he was 19 years old, I never behold the stars that I do not feel that I am looking in the face of God. I can see how it might be possible for a man to look down upon the earth and be an atheist, but I cannot conceive how he can look up into the heavens and say, there is no God. Even the Constitution of West Virginia says we cannot exist without God. It says, since through divine providence we enjoy the blessings of civil, political, and religious liberty, we, the people of West Virginia, in and through the provision of this Constitution, reaffirm our faith in a constant reliance upon God and seek diligently to promote, preserve, and perpetuate good government in the state of West Virginia for the common welfare, freedom, and security of ourselves and our prosperity. God still blesses America, and we hear it very often. May God continue to bless this great place that we all call our home. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Before I ask Joe to come up again for the benediction, I just want to share a couple of thoughts. Mr. Williams earned his medal for World War II, but he hasn't stopped. He's dedicated his life to travel the country, to talk about citizenship and character values, to ensure the freedom that we all enjoy will be here for generations to come. And I just ask each of you tonight to think about the memory that he created for us today, to think about your lives, to think about the opportunities our country has offered you, to think about your kids and the opportunities they have, and then ask yourself, what can you do to help Mr. Williams in his quest? Even though he's a superhuman guy, he's only one guy. But if we all come together and we all work together and we all embrace the citizenship and character values that are demonstrated by Mr. Williams and the other Medal of Honor recipients, we can ensure the freedom that we love and enjoy. At this time, Joe, would you please come back up and offer a benediction?
Ladies and gentlemen, let's all rise, please. Before I give the benediction, I just need to tell you a little story. What makes my heart touch to hear Woody and all these other people who served our country. In 1943, and in the wooded area like we're standing, one of our neighbors came up through the woods and he had his khaki uniform on and he was getting ready to leave to go to the military. When I was 6 years old, I came home from school and the lady who was taking care of us was my mother had passed away in 1939, and that was his aunt taking care of us. And she was crying, and we wanted to know what was wrong. She said, Carson, he got killed in France on a motorcycle. And I can live forever, and that'll never go away. And when I look at these people that's done that sacrifice, that's my thought every day. So now let's go to the Lord. Our precious Lord, we just thank you for everything that you do for each and every one of us. We can never thank you enough for what you've gave us. You provide for us every day. You give us every opportunity in the world. We just can't understand the things that happen. And, you know, I think about in the book of Philippians, that word says it tells you within God all things are possible. And we look around behind us, and that's there. And we look at our military men all over the world. And we just pray for them, bless them. And we pray that every one of them gets home safe. Also, Lord, before we leave here today, I want you to bless everybody that's here. Give them a safe journey home. And let them have a life that you want them to have. And if they look to you, we know that it'll happen. All these things we ask you in the precious name. Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for attending this special event. Please remain standing. I'd ask you to join us in singing God Bless America, offered by Mark Ryan, our pipe